the city of Florence, especially in District 3. I'm excited to see this turnout. I've never had this high turnout. And I'm glad that all of you are here to talk about the pothole issue that I've been bringing up. I'm kidding, I know that. But on that, we do have Mr. Coots here to talk about some issues with the street department. So I'm going to outline a little bit of what we're going to do tonight, and that is we're going to have Mr. Coots come up, and he's just going to give an outlay of what he does and some of the things that they have going on in the street department. And then we're going to hop right on into one of the main issues of why we're here tonight. And that was the proposed redevelopment of Veterans Park. And we have some people here that are in the know with that directly, so that you can ask them questions that maybe I haven't asked, and as your representative, that is what I'm charged to do. But I like to bring the people in to exercise their right to ask these questions, to know where things are, the history behind it and so forth, and I have Mr. McCoy here for that. And please ask questions away, because it's always better to be informed. So also have some members here from other city departments, including the police department. After we talk about tennis for a little while and inundate Mr. McCoy with 1,000 questions on that, we're going to go into some issues such as community watch, some of the crime aspects around District 3, and see if we can just keep on making District 3 a great place to live. So thank you so much for your interest. That it means a lot to me that you're out like this, coming out, and I want to turn to the problem. Okay, thank you, Mr. And up next, the moment you've all been waiting for, Mr. Larry McCoy.
Listen, for the last 15 months, I've told this story about 20,000 times. So I don't mind telling it again, you know. But I'm here as the chairman of the ad hoc committee that was appointed last March for the redevelopment of Veterans Park. Now I'm gonna pretty well go by my script here, because I want to make you answer a lot of your questions about what I'm going to tell you, give you a little history or background of this real quickly, and not get into a lot of detail then. And I appreciate Councilman Bradley he's your good representative. I know you know that, because he's interested not only in the community, but his district, but also the community. So I appreciate him letting us come and talk about this tonight. And we're happy to do that. Our ad hoc committee, we have some members here tonight. Susan Good here has been a part of our committee this whole year. Larry Bowser has been a member of our committee. Rob Carnegie, who is the CEO of the Lauderdale County, Florence Lauderdale County Tourism Bureau, and Coach Bishop has been at most of all our meetings from the University of North Alabama. So we have about 10 committee members of this committee that makes up what we've been working with all this year. So let me start off. Veterans Park, you know, is the main thing there now is the Veterans Memorial. The Veterans Memorial is a first-class operation. It's first class, and something we can be proud of. With the completion of Phase 1, and I'll talk to you what Phase 1 is. Phase 1 of Memorial Park will be, the Memorial Park will be greatly enhanced by these things. And all these things were the people, the guys that, the veterans, all helped us create these items that we're talking about now. And they want to see the park, not just the tennis part of it, they want to see the whole park be a first-class operation. And you know it's not open. That's not what it is right now, and I'll tell you a little bit why that's not. But we'll enhance by parking. They have no parking much over there now. We'll have a parking lot right across from them. We'll have a meeting room that they can have activities there. There'll be an outside area that they can have an activity like for Memorial Day, Veterans Day, those type of items. They don't have much there now. We'll have a new street. The new street will be located there, part of the infrastructure. And we'll have a new large entrance. One of the things that they wanted first was to have the large entrance there, not a cattle gate. You know, that big yellow cattle gate there. So it'll be a big yard, something that'll be there nice, you know. So it'll be a first-class operation. But so that's the good part about Veterans Park now. In 2003, 14 years ago, when they built the golf course and the Marriott Hotel, there was $2 million put aside, put in Public Parks Authority to improve Veterans Park with something that would would be a revenue producer to anchor the park. The project had to be approved by first TVA, next by RSA. There's two parts of RSA. One is the RSA, the retirement system, the other is Alabama property something else. There's two groups there in RSA anyway. And then PPA, which is Public Parks Authority, with the City of Florence. The City of Florence had to be one of the approvers of it. So during those 14 years, several projects has been suggested, you know, Bass Pro Shop, waterfalls, water parks, all this kind of stuff. Well, nothing has been approved in 14 years. This project, the tennis complex, is the first thing, and the only thing that's been approved. It's approved by TVA first, by RSA, both parts of RSA, and PPA has said that they will release the money if the City of Florence approves it. The only approval we like is the City of Florence. How did we get to the tennis complex? It's what would be proposed for the anchor of Veterans Park. In March, as I said, Mayor Haddock appointed the committee, and he charged phase one as being this: develop a master plan for the park, develop infrastructure that would serve the whole park, and I'll go into more of these in just a minute, and a revenue producing anchor for the park. Tennis complex has been talked about for several years, and there had been a lot of work done on it, but nothing had ever gone, and there's been a lot of work done on it, but we never could get past the council, and never could get past the city approval. So we decided as a committee that tennis was what we could get approved. So that's what we started working on. So the master plan for the city had already developed, and this master plan, let me say up front, it's a concept of what can be there. That tennis complex is it's a big complex. It's about 50 or 60 courts. This is the tennis complex that would go there. And I'll tell you that in a minute, what that'll cover, what acres that'll cover. So that was the concept, and we'll cover more of that later, talk about that more later. Put in the infrastructure development of the park. Water and electric are already there. There's no sewer. So it'd have to be, the sewer would have to be running there. So that's the main part of the infrastructure that would be there. And then develop a tennis complex for the park, which will only take 14 acres of the 80 plus acres out there. And that's as you come in there, you know, where the ball fields are now, that's where we're talking about. The master plan, that's phase one. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what can happen after that in phase two, which is the concept here now. Out there now is a disc golf, which is very popular. Nothing's going to be done with that, I know. The picnic shelters and restrooms and parking in the streets. Those are things that are existing out there now, and all of those need to improve it. Proposed things main things on here, there's several proposed things on the concept, but the main proposed are the walking trails, bike trails, amphitheater, 25 RV pull through, and camping are the things that are the main things that are there. For over 14 years, not much has been done. It's a pitiful looking place, as you know, besides the Veterans Memorial, we know is first class. And this, I don't mean this is a reflection on the Parks and Rec, because they've been in limbo for 14 years. You don't want to spend any money over there because We don't know what's gonna happen. So, the park has been in limbo. There hadn't been a plan of what is gonna be, what's gonna happen over there. And this ad hoc committee has developed a plan of phase 1. And we'll talk a little bit about what can happen in phase 2. We now have a chance to jumpstart the park to where it can be used for by many different groups, and also bring in revenue for the area. I'm sure in phase 2, there'll be a lot of input. Like I talked to a guy that just got there, they're moving that there'll be people that have input in phase 2. I know, because I know councilman will be glad that happens, and I know the mayor will. Phase 2 will not be there won't be a phase 2 unless their phase 1 is completed. There won't be a phase 2. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. Completion of the infrastructure of the tennis complex will take about 10 to 12 months. As soon as phase 1 is approved, it'll take about 10 to 12 months to complete, probably more than like 12. Phase 2 planning should begin immediately. Decide on what projects you want to go after. Things I've heard mainly from people that have talked to me about it, and we've had a lot of talk about it. They want to get involved when it comes around to that time. Walking trails, upgrading the picnic areas, restrooms, and an RV park. Those are the main things I've heard. But that's just what we heard. There needs to be a time frame set up for it. Funding, you don't know, there's funding when you get the infrastructure there and you have a project there and you get it started, then you can there's grants you can get for funding. The city will be able to do a lot of things. It don't take much to do a walking trail. There's a lot of money for grants for walking trail. I've gotten grants for 2 at the college. I got a walking trail over there. When I was in the city of Athens, we got a walking trail there, and we got it on grant money. There's a lot of monies out there, grant money. But we don't know what the cost is going to be because we don't know what we're going to put in there. So we need to have a plan. There has to be a plan of what we want to do, just like we have for phase 1. We got a plan. And we got the funding. Everybody don't agree on it, but there's a plan there. I don't guess we get 100% on Jesus Christ, probably. But there needs to be a plan. The first thing we have to do is to get activity started at the park. It's been talked about for a long time, 14 years. We've been talking about it for the last 15 months that I've been involved with it. And we've talked about it. The $2 million's been sitting there since 2003. I guarantee you, in 2 years, we can enjoy something we all be proud of if we all work together and come to some kind of agreement. And we've made our recommendation to the city. And our committee's made our recommendation to the city. And we feel like we've done a lot of work. There's been a feasibility study that's been done. There's been a pro forma that was been presented. It backed up what we did for all those months and doing phase 1, looking at phase 1, especially the tennis complex. So we can go over. I don't know if you want to talk about the concept of the master plan. I think a lot of you looked at it.
I think there was some of the issues that had been brought up to me was which one that they were going to go with. I had not seen the one to the left until the other day. The one to the right was the one that I was introduced to. And my understanding of the question that I asked was how many exact acres that it was going to take up. And I know that that's been a concern because we're looking at approximately 80 acres for Veterans Park. And one of the concerns that I had was that Veterans Park would be inundated by, you just look at it and see it as a big tennis court, what was relayed to me was that my concern was not a concern after all, because it was only gonna take up 13 acres, 13, 14 acres.
It's for 13.
And so if you just wanna address that, that was the concern that I had.
Yeah. So there's, as you come in, it'll be right where the ball fields are. And that's where it would be, right in that area. It won't go off that hill, it won't get down it, it won't even take you into that pavilion on the end. And you know, those pavilions, they're gonna have, this plan comes in there, there'll be some things that have to be done there.
Well, at this time, I would like to open it up to the floor, because like I said, I've had I've had concerns. There are things that I still have questions about, but that's why you're here tonight, because I'm your voice. I want to know what you think, and I want to hear the questions that you have concerning this, pros, cons, anything like that. So that's what Mr. McCoy here. There are some people from the ad hoc committee that I'm sure, as a gathering, could address any of the concerns that you have. But please, ma'am.
So there won't be any ballparks whatsoever for the kids to go to?
The ballparks, the one I understand, out on the highway will be there. But those.
But none in Veterans Park for the local kids to go to.
No, ma'am.
We're not the real section, we're District 3. And a lot of these kids don't have a way to get out there.
I understand, but I'm not part of the rec department, so I really can't address that. You'd have to address that with the rec department.
Is this gonna replace all of the tennis courts that we have now that are not being used? Is there that much of a demand for tennis courts?
The feasibility study, and I'm sure you'll be reading about the feasibility study. The feasibility study shows that this area will support what we are recommending.
Well, I know Huntsville has a tennis complex up there, and I guess you could get some input from them.
We have.
It's up there. Well, this one down here, maybe.
Well, it's two different type courts. Their courts are all soft courts. They're 25, or I think it's 25 Rubico courts, because they're soft courts, and these will be hard courts mostly. There'll be 6 soft courts, Rubico courts, but there'll be 25. The 25 we got here will take care of any tournament that we'll be able to get for USTA.
You can get the tournaments.
We can get the tournaments. Well, that's part of the feasibility study that shows that we are in line for those, and we will be in demand for them.
The problem I have with the ones now is, I sat out there at the skateboard park the other afternoon. I counted 42, and I believe those bulbs are 1,750 watt bulbs. I counted 42, and there wasn't a soul up there in the courts. And they said, well, no reason to cut them off because of the fact that it doesn't cost that much money. I'd hate to pay for 42 or 1,700 watt bulbs in my house.
Well,
But
this complex will have a pro there, and they won't. I guarantee you it'll be running the correct way. So it'll be supervised, and it'll be run first class. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm fairly new there. I've been here for 4 years, and I'm a disc golfer. And the main thing I was concerned with was in the newspaper article, and it's mentioned disc golf. But as you said, it appears that disc golf will not be effective.
I would say this is, like I said, this is a concept, and I've heard and talked with the mayor and the other council members, and our committee is assured that the disc golf won't be affected unless it's something that makes it better.
It was one of the first 120 courses in the United States.
Yes, sir.
And there's been a tournament there since 1983. And also, there's been very little other than maintenance, like cutting grass, spent there. The course was basically put in with a plug. And I've noticed too here that in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, and St. Joseph, both cities have put in a course without any private money. And The course could be greatly upgraded with only about $6,000. And we've got a little sheet here I want to give someone to show you.
And I'll take this from him at that point. That has been a concern of mine about the things that are in there. I've been very open about this part of it, and I will let Mr. McCoy continue. I want to let you guys know before we come. Thank you so much. One of the things that I've been very honest about how I feel a lot of things. Most of you people that come to the meetings understand that I'm pretty blunt when it comes to certain things. I've asked all kinds of difficult questions of Mr. McCoy. I'm sure you guys can find some that are probably more difficult, but one of the issues that I have, I could care less about tennis or whatever goes in there as long as it's a good thing that comes to the community. My issue was things like this game, things that people enjoy, walking trails, disc golf. Disc golf did not escape me, by the way, by chance. I even asked Mr. McCoy yesterday, would disc golf supplies, I don't know if he just told me this, just be telling me this, but would things like that be able to be bought in the pro shop? Sure. And the answer was yes. So some of the things are being alleviated. At the same time, we all have questions. So when it comes to the second part of the plan of the park is something that I'm very, very concerned with, and that is making it a world-class park for anyone in the city of Florence to come over to Veterans Park and enjoy, not just for someone that wants to swing a tennis racket. That was my concern, and that still is my concern to this day as I stand here. We're just here to figure out exactly what vehicle gets us to be able to do that, and that's why I invited the ad hoc committee here so that so you can ask them those questions. But thank you, sir, so much for bringing that to my attention specifically.
And I'd say that they're also going to be dressing rooms there. It doesn't have to be just used for tennis. I mean, it could be used for anything in there, a meeting room and other things. It can be used for the whole area. Yes, sir.
Personally, I think the tennis courts is a great idea. I think it'd be a good asset for the city. My concern as a resident in Lakeside Highlands is when we have maps like this, it's cut off. We need to realize that our residence is right here. When I see things like primitive camping here, where it's across the slough from houses in Lakeside Highland Parks, where people will be there overnight, that kind of it gets my attention. I have no problem with disc golf. I live over here. I like to hear the disc golfers hooping and hollering across the slough during the day. They're not out there at night. But primitive campers could be hooping and hollering out there all night long. And so I'd ask the ad hoc committee, as you look through this, to just consider. Remember, the map sheet doesn't cut off here. There's still stuff to the east there.
Good point. Well, I would say, let me make this point. When I said, this is a concept, so I would say that when we get in, I'm sure that, Councilman, when we get into it and we start planning what we're going to do over there, then in phase 2, there's going to be a lot of input. So, there might be different things put, just like somebody says, moving something on the disc golf. That, whether it made it better, I wouldn't say doing it. So we'd have to have a plan.
Sometimes we won't make things world class. We have the tendency to put too much stuff in there.
Right.
Agreed.
And we just.
I totally agree. And that's where.
We have family-friendly atmosphere, and shelters and things like that, so people can access the park, use it like that.
I totally agree with you, and that is where, if this comes to fruition, if this actually goes through and is voted upon, and that's why I want your input, then it will be my responsibility, as well as yours, to come to me and advise me on these things and question the planning department between these things, because it's your responsibility as citizens to come up whenever there's an issue and say, hey, I got a problem with this, just like the Colonel just did. You got to address it, you got to bring it to mind, because some of those things can be overlooked. So, I mean, if this does this does start to happen, and we start moving that way, then I need your input.
Susan?
I'm Susan Boo, and my maiden name is Roman, so if you live in District, I don't know, if you live in District 3, any length of time, that's probably what you know me as, but, I've lived in District 3 longer than I've lived anywhere in the city of Florence. I mean, my brothers played softball at Veterans Park while I played tennis. tennis rackets and tables that mother bought me to entertain me while my brothers play, or softball. If you grew up in District 3 at that time, you know what Veterans Park was. Veterans Park has been invisible for 14 years. I mean, it has been totally overlooked, totally invisible, and the way to get something done at Veterans Park is to bring something that will draw attention. This will draw attention. This is what will get us back to where we once were. So if you want the walking trails, if you want Veterans Park to be everything that it once was, this is where you can do that.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a couple of comments. One, again, about the ball fields for kids. Just coming from somebody that has kids, I would love to see a flat field where kids can go out and kick a ball or play kickball or play a game of baseball or whatever. Just something flat and grassy that they can play on, because if you do away with that, where else do they have to go?
Ma'am, I totally agree with you. This was something that I addressed outside of Mr. McCoy's presence the other day. I went to Todd Nix and spoke to him about it. My first concern is whenever they decided to take away the ball fields, because I know that some of our kids, number one, some of their parents don't even have cars. Now, I'm trying to make District 3 that place where we don't have those issues, but we do. And unfortunately, we're always going to have issues with things. However, we can make it better for the people that can't afford things. So I agree with you. When the kids are playing sports, guess what they're not doing? They're not breaking in cars. They're not causing mischief. So I totally agree. One of the things that I want to see done is, if this comes to fruition, and I would like to see more, see the space that is available out there to go toward that. And I know that you're going to come back to me about that's my responsibility in phase 2, because you've got to have phase 1 to get to phase 2, but it is a concern that has been my own. I went to Todd and asked him about some other ball fields in the district that don't get any attention. And it's just like Veterans Park has not gotten any attention for the past few years. When I was running and people would talk to me about Veterans Park, and they would talk about it like Miss Goo did. They remember these fond memories of Veterans Park, and they told me about what Veterans Park was years and years and years ago. And so what I want to see is, whether tennis goes there or not, my job is still, as your representative, to make Veterans Park the best place that it can be. Whether tennis goes in there or not, I will try my best at that. While at the same time, getting to some of the other ball fields that are in the district, get them up to the level where you would want your kids. So that is a valid concern, and I agree with you.
David, are we still going to have that
This-
ball field?
Here's, I was gonna show you this right here. This is not gonna go away. Still a ball field and a football area field, a soccer area field, and all this is not going away. That's still there.
Okay. If we're leaving one,
Yeah, leaving one, that field there, and also the soccer field there. So there is area there for anybody, it'll be still there.
Well, I was going to ask, with that, talking about that map, you knew how far back it goes. Where does it start in Veterans Park?
It starts right where the ball field, where the
So it starts
first-
by the memorial and
right.
then goes.
It'll be right across the memorial.
right. I think the most up-to-date map that shows clearly, is it not the map on the right that shows basically exactly where?
Yeah, this shows here the street coming in. This is the Veterans Park here.
The memorial.
This street is more over here. This street will be, it'll be a new street, the street's over here.
Where does the football field and that baseball field line up on that map?
It's over here. It'll be back here,
Okay.
I
back
think
here.
that's where
It'll
you
be right
first
up
go
here.
in, where the water treatment plant is.
Yes,
That's
I was
something-
trying to read that map and didn't see where that
Yeah,
water
it's-
treatment
yeah,
plant or
we need
anything.
to- We need to turn it and then add something there.
Well, here, it would be right here. The tennis courts will be based in the same place, but they won't cover this much area. This is about 60 courts there, so.
That was it.
That was-
It's actually before you go through the gates, you turn right, you go behind the water plant.
That's right.
So all that's staying untouched?
All that's staying untouched.
Okay.
That'll be still where you can be used for.
Way I
Basically.
think outdoor grass grocery was. Reason it didn't fly was because of the fact that it was considered a hub. And that's what Bass Pro was. They built their building, and all these other retail outlets built all of it.
Well, TVA wouldn't approve
Would
it.
be great. And the ferry that they talked about would have been great. Because we bought a golf course right across the river. I haven't seen it except for the paper. But, to me, that would have been a good thing, sitting down there on the river. As far as taxes.
Probably would, but TVA wouldn't approve it.
No.
Never got approved, so. This is the only thing we've got approved by TVA.
Well, the people, all the people did want the entire park just compromised.
Right. I can see that now.
Is there anyone else that has any questions before we move on to some of the other district issues?
I'd like to talk about the campgrounds. If you go to any areas around here that's on the water like we are, they've got nice campgrounds availability to the water. We've got the campground in McFarland's Bottom, but you can't get to the water, plus it stays full the majority of the time. So I'd like to see some nice campgrounds built on the water.
I think that we could be able to do something like that and also take into consideration some of the colonel's concerns, and I think that can be met. And I've seen it as well, and it's something that I really love, because to be honest with you, I just need to get out of the house sometimes to go camping. You know, good way.
We spend a fortune on nothing. We're paying for lawnmowers to run every week and nothing.
Well, I'll even go one step further. We have not been putting enough money into our parks. Veterans Park has one full-time person operating that whole park.
But we're paying for gas and lawnmowers to be run and not getting no benefit out of the park whatsoever. And that,
Yes, sir.
if you could get anything.
How much are we spending on maintenance of the golf course?
That I don't know.
Half of it for this golf.
And it could be enlarged. There's a story that I tell, and I think the sergeant would probably have some knowledge of this. I was a police officer in this district a long time ago, and one of the probably captain, I might have been on the captain shift at that time, but I had a foot pursuit go through Veterans Park. Well, I run over something large and it hurt. Well, it turns out to be, and I told the story at Lakeside Highlands the other day. I ran over a concrete picnic table. And what I didn't realize was that was part of Veterans Park. And that started entering my head, why has this park fallen so far out of disarray? And I was talking to one of the guys that mows the grass over there, they said, well, we can't keep it up anymore. And I brought Todd Nix on the conversation when I got elected. I said, and I told him about the story, and he goes, oh, there's no doubt about that. And basically, there was not enough money had been put into Veterans Park for all these years to maintain the park. So we have all this acreage, that's 80 acres. And realistically, how much does anybody use over there right now? A couple acres? Couple. I don't think I'm exaggerating, except for the disc golf, and the disc golf guys help keep that part up themselves. So I'm very familiar with that, I think it's great. But if you have any questions for Mr. Ford?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people are saying the park's not being used a lot. I go out there almost every week. Just today I was there. Tennis was empty. Baseball was empty. Disc golf was full. There were about 12, 14 people out the pool. It was being used a lot. It's being used every single day. We had an event with over 130,000.
Well, I guess when I say that, I mean on a continuous everyday basis to make it so that there was somebody paying attention to it, that we should have been pumping money into it so that people weren't running over picnic tables in the middle of the woods. It's ridiculous.
Last Saturday, we had an event out there with a lot of people. There were the two familiar before people. The park is used. You just need some money.
Right. Does anybody have any other, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
How much does that cost?
Somewhere around, the tennis complex is somewhere around $6 million.
Does that include?
That's what we're looking at now.
That does not include phase 2?
No.
Where's the money come from for phase 2?
Well, what I said earlier was there has to be a plan. You don't know what you're going to put in there there's a lot of, there's grant monies, there's other things that can be done, and we've got to have a plan, like we've developed this plan for phase 2 before you can really talk about what kind of money you're gonna put in there. So what are you gonna need, you know, so.
How much has already been spent on this project as far as the feasibility research, and how much has already been done?
I don't really know, that's a city project, I don't really know.
Is the Public Park Authority of the Shoals still involved in Veterans Park?
Public Parks Authority holds the $2 million that was put aside, as I said earlier, that has to be approved by TVA, the RSA, and the City of Florence. Then that $2 million would be if there's a project that is approved by that group. And that group has approved this project.
How much is UNA willing to, because they talked about leasing courts. How much is UNA willing to put in?
We don't know that exact figure yet, but we're negotiating with that now. They're looking at
We're going to
that.
end up at Raleigh Stadium, and then we'll have to build another stadium somewhere else for the school.
I don't know about all that now. That's out of my pay scale now. That's out of my pay scale.
No, and
That's kind of the way things happen.
you raise a good point, and I have to agree with Mr. Parrish. One of the concerns that I had when I started asking questions about these things was the city of Florence, and a lot of cities all over the United States, we've got to this thing where our eyes are bigger than our stomachs. Where we're like, oh, we want this is going to be so awesome, it's going to be great. Then we build it, and 10 years later, it's dilapidated, it's falling apart. I have an issue with that, and I've said that to you guys probably while I was running it. Nothing's changed. I totally agree with you. And I've asked these questions, and some of the answers that I've been given were to the effect of continuation of the money that's being put toward it to settle the bond issue would be put back into the park to keep it up for all these years. And UNA's cooperation, I think, would be a very good thing and would help to do that, and it wouldn't be on the back of everyday taxpayers like us.
The 2 cents tax that we have on gasoline, is that a forever tax? Because I'm kind of hearing that Representative Nelson is wanting that 2 cents a gallon for something else, and that would be a forever tax.
Right, and that is something that's even above my pay grade right now. But if I get there, if I start running, and you know that I'm running for state senate or whatever, then then I'll know a lot more about that.
Well,
But
how long was
that's
that tax supposed to last anyway?
it was only supposed to last for
20 years.
yeah. How long? 4 years was it?
Okay.
And so we all know what the government tries to do with your money.
Yeah, they switched it over.
Right. But with this, it's supposed to keep on, hopefully, and if I have my say-so in it, it will go back into Veterans Park so that we have this park at a great level forever. And that's what I would, Ms. Stevens, please.
That's the resolution on it.
Yeah.
I've got a question back there.
My interest is in the walking trail, because I go over there and walk, and when I go now, I have to dodge the little disc golf things. Because, I walk on the grounds, and they're playing the disc golf over there, and there's not a good place, to walk out of their way. You sort of have to walk, around and out of their way, and I was hoping if you put the walking trail in, that it could be like just a soft earth ground walking trail instead of concrete.
Well,
That's what I don't like about Diamond Park, it's all
Right.
so concrete.
well, not trailing off too far, I agree. We have to have, that's what the plan is for. That is why, if this is done, and if this goes through, and we get to that phase 2 where all these things are done, that's why people are going to come back together to address those concerns, to address light, to address light noise. All those things are done whenever parks are designed. The main focus on having Mr. McCoy up here to answer these questions, and I don't want to waste any of his time, is that basically why it's being built, how it's being built, how it's being funded, what can it do for District 3 and the city of Florence altogether. And like I said, I want all those things, and that's why it's important for people like you, ma'am, to come up here and tell me that that's a concern of yours, so that you can get together we can get you together with disc golf people and figure out how not to get hit in the head with disc golf and have a nice walking trail. So,
I'd like to ride
Susan?
my golf cart since I can't walk all the way around.
Susan?
there you go.
There was one other piece of information I wanted to share with everybody. In Mobile, and I know Mobile is different than Florence, but in Mobile, the University of South Alabama did an economic study on the impact that their tennis courts have for their city. And it was back in 2012. I don't know if there's a more current report, but in 2012, the economic impact study that was done by the University of South Alabama said that the 60 tennis courts at Copeland Cox Tennis Center had a $52 million per year economic impact to their city. So when you're looking at a facility like tennis courts, once you build them, the maintenance costs are minute compared to other sports facilities. So you don't have a lot of upkeep. It costs very little to have those courts once you build them. But the economic impact from tournaments, and it's not just USTA, it's junior. Both of my kids played tennis. They played high school tennis. We went to Mobile, we went to Montgomery, we went to Dothan, we went everywhere. And we paid to stay in rooms, and we ate out every time, and we bought a Gatorade at Walmart while we were there. So every single time, we get a junior tournament in here, we get a high school tournament in here, we get a collegiate tournament in here. That's an economic impact that we're going to see, and what that's going to do is that's going to increase our sales tax. Our sales tax is what's going to pay for that phase two. It's that increase in revenue and increase in sales tax that's going to make this an ongoing project and make it an ongoing development.
I'm just thinking about.
I have a question too.
I'm just happy to walk to the district, read
Right,
everything,
right.
you know, and everything. I'm sure with the right studies and things, we would probably prove to be. I was kind of skeptical about all of the baseball fields and things out here in the road that is so nice.
Well, I'm gonna build off that, what you just said. Ms. Good?
It had to get built before
Yes, sir.
we realized.
Yes, sir. Ms. Good, my question is, and I hope somebody wants to know this too, are these kind of tournaments that you're talking about, are they going to be overnight tournaments where that's really going to affect us, or are these just something, because we know how when people freeze into
Most
the
of
day.
them are elimination tournaments, so you're looking at a 3-day tournament. Now, when you're talking about, my daughter played, we would go to Decatur, and it would be a day tournament.
Right.
And then we would drive home. So you've got different levels of tournaments. You've got tournaments that are within a 90-mile radius, which is, okay, you drive there and you play and then you drive home. But even when you're doing that, you're buying gas while you're there, you're buying food while you're there. And
So the more tournaments we pump in that are going to be 2 to 3 days is going to make it better. And is UNA going to be prepared to try to help us out with all that? Do you think UNA would back us up on trying to make that happen? And is there
UNA would love to be able to host the National Collegiate Tournament here. We lost our Division II football tournament. Wouldn't it be great if we could host, well, they're going to Division I now, but wouldn't it be great if we could host the Division I National Championship here in tennis? There's no reason why we can't. And from a tennis player's perspective, who has played in all these different places all over the state of Alabama, this town is more accommodating than any other place I have played. All the rest of the places, you have to drive 20, 30 minutes to get to a court. Do you know, until they built the hotel rooms out on Florence Boulevard, we didn't even have enough hotel rooms to bid these tournaments. They're that good. So if we can get 1 or 2 of these, and there's no reason why we can't, because our accommodations are better than any other facility in the state.
But what's going to keep them coming back is that we fix our infrastructure.
Exactly.
Lack of it,
We're creating a destination, because we're off the big track, we're off highway, we're off the interstate. So people don't know about Florence until we get them here. If we can get them here, they'll come back.
You can
And
go everywhere.
this is a
That's it. Where are
mandatory
you from?
destination.
Florence, where's that? That's what, you know where my show is? Yeah.
we should move Fame over to District 3.
The, The feasibility study that the city just paid for, that Councilman Bradley was part of, gives all this information, and it's all positive. It's very positive. It's a very positive report, and it tells about what we can do in this area. And this is really a great area for tennis, this north region of Alabama, and there's nothing like this in the north region that will be close to this. So we'll be able to get those tournaments and be able to get them.
Where can we access the feasibility study at? Is it on my?
They'll be out there. We just got them yesterday. We just got them.
They're fresh off the press.
They're fresh. Yesterday, we just got to see them yesterday. So.
They're about 2 months later than what they expected them to get them, right?
Well, that was kind of our fault too, because we kept it.
We had to add something in there because there was a question about how some things were going to work. Some questions we had about outside monies coming in, as well as the placement of the ball fields and everything. So I think we were good stewards with it, saying, wait, we can't just address this one thing. We have to find out the full picture before we decide yes or no on a upwards of $6 to $9 million project, depending on how you look at it. 6.6 being there, and then the other toward ball fields.
So it really wasn't their fault; it was our fault. But it was good. It was good stuff. As I said, it was good. Kind.
This is coming from what I read out of the paper. The ball fields that are there now, they had mentioned something about moving them out to the complex, adding ball fields. Is that factored into this plan, the first part of the phase?
Yes. Okay. Yes, it is.
I asked Mr. Nix this yesterday. My question was, how detrimental would it be if the ball fields were not replaced? Todd Nix informed me that it would be extremely detrimental because of how many people are actually going out and practicing and so forth, using those ball fields. But I still have the same concerns as the ladies over here, because I want District 3 children and whoever wants to go out and use ball fields, playing a pickup game. That's what I did. I didn't play any organized sports, okay? I went out and got together with my friends and we played ball. That's what we did. I want that same ability for them, so that is a major concern of mine. And everybody knows, Mr. McCoy knows that I have kept up with this, calling him and asking these same questions over and over, because I don't want somebody just changing their mind on me the next day and saying, oh, well, that's changed, because we all know how government closes do that.
Will there be a charge if the public families can do courts for free?
There'll be a charge. There'll be a charge for it.
No charge to play disc golf.
Right?
There's no charge to play tennis over there right now. That's right.
Now, I actually asked that question too today. The answer I got was the other facilities were going to be maintained so that somebody just wants to go play a game. We're looking at, the answer that was given to me was, we're looking at this as more of that as an economic impact to the community. Was the answer given to me on why District 3, why would we want this, and basically it comes back to getting what we want as a community for the rest of Veterans Park to affect the other 60 some odd acres. And that's where.
If you shift these ball fields around, would you steer that ball field and be accommodating to everybody? I don't think that would be a problem. But because of where they're sitting right now, you know, that's not an issue. It's just that we still got them there somewhere.
Another food for thought, the complex out, the softball and baseball complex that's out there now is a completely locked off complex. If this is gonna be something that's gonna be a tournament-based complex, how are they going to secure that so it doesn't become something that gets destroyed and not completely block off the
The
park?
tennis complex you're talking about, it's gonna be completely fenced in. It'll
Okay.
be locked up at night.
Okay, so that's not gonna detriment to
No,
getting
there'll be-
to any of the rest of the park?
Anytime it'll be open, there'll be somebody there.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna lock it down to one final question, ma'am, and then I've got to address some other issues with district business, but
Somebody
yes,
else can
ma'am.
ask a more important question. Mine doesn't need to be the last. I guess my concern was, we have kids that go over and play tennis, you know, our kids go over there and play tennis. Are they gonna be charged now to go over there and use a court, or can you have one open for kids to use that they don't have to get charged every time?
That is something that I would love to negotiate with the tennis complex people on, and I agree with you on that. And I will say that openly. I mean, if we want to get kids interested in tennis to the point where they're wanting to pay money to go and do these nice courts and actually spend money on $150, what's the big bracket name, the whatever. I play pool, I know Mayuchi's a good one. Yeah, but I agree with you. We want them to expand, and one of the questions I had, and I asked this, I think of Ms. Good a long time ago, was how do we get kids in the neighborhood to start playing sports? Because I remember tennis became really big in high school for me, and I come from originally from Tennessee, in a very rural place. And it was looked at as a rich person's sport, and it turns out it's actually not. It's actually cheap to play. You just got a racket. Golf is way more expensive.
You don't have to have two people in it?
Yeah, you got two people, and so that was a concern of mine as well. So you have a nice backboard there, but that is something that I would like to see happen, and that is something that is not falling on a deaf ear on this side of the table. I would like to address that, maybe having to where you can go out and play, where there is an open court. I don't think they've shut me down on that possibility yet.
Well, the tournament, we talk about the tournaments a lot, but the big part of this is getting the youth involved. The youth, there's no youth programs now, there's no junior programs, and those are things we got to get the young people involved. Everybody don't like baseball, everybody don't like hunting, everybody don't like fishing, everybody don't like soccer. You know, but a lot of people, you got to get them involved, and this is a lifetime sport, so there's a lot of good advantages.
Well, Laura Avenue, and that's what I get to all the lived on Tuscaloosa Street at the time, I could walk up there. And they had this large board on one end of the court, had it lined off. You can learn to play tennis by yourself.
That's right, Bud. I didn't do so well. I took it in college, and the ball hit below the line, and I got a B. Well, guys, I'm going to let Mr. McCoy go. Then we're going to address some other issues going on in the district. But Mr. McCoy, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you guys for those questions, because those were great. There was a lot of stuff brought up that I hadn't thought about. I still welcome your input. I want to talk to you more about it. We will address that. So you can reach me by email, or just give me a call up and do that. Next, I want to introduce